We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to donate to the show, just hit that $sign. You can make a comment. I'll get to it as quick as I possibly can. We have a call-in number, 763-260-1333. That's 763-260-1333. Our show is stacked tonight. The ACC football schedule for the 2023 season gets released in 15 minutes from now. I've got the ACC network on the TV. I'm going to be covering it as closely as possible. I do have a couple of rants that I want to get to tonight. A couple of rants. One of them is Syracuse and Pittsburgh being played November 11th at Yankee Stadium. Terrible idea, ACC. Don't be playing football games in baseball stadiums. And then I got another rant. Something personal that's been flying out there about me. We'll talk about it here at Peek Around the Corner. But welcome in. The water's warm. Come on in to Peek Around the Corner. Give me your comments. Make a phone call. Pac-12. I think I owe John Wilner an apology. In our live show on, I think it was, when was it? We had one on Saturday, one on Thursday, I think on Saturday, where I said John Wilner's description of Pac-12 extinction being at 33%. I said that was wrong. I would have it about 10%. I think John Wilner's 33% is probably right. Absolutely right. Pac-12's future is resting on the knife's edge as we speak tonight. I haven't heard any leaks coming out of the meeting at Tempe, Arizona. Let me know in the chat room if anything breaks tonight. any information at all being reported from Wilner, Kazano, Pete Thamel, somebody put it on in the comments section. We'll get to it right away. I haven't heard any information. But John Wilner talked about how they've got about a 4 to 6 week window, 4 to 6 week window to really get this done. And if it doesn't get done, if the new media deal doesn't get done in that time, people are going to be getting anxious. People are going to be going to their alternatives. I think people are already anxious. It doesn't seem to be that there's been no real media offer set in front of the Pac-12 presidents. It doesn't seem like that has happened yet. And if you look at Andrew Marchand's article in the New York Post, I'm going to be posting up here right now. Let's do that right now. I'm going to read it. We did this in our episode today. We talked about it. Let's just put it on. Nice to see you, Joe, Monavision, James Foster, Ted. Nice to see you coming in. Appreciate it. Into the house. Let's get going here. This was what Marchand said in the New York Post. Pac-12 dilemma. The Pac-12 TV deal is something to watch because why I think it has some suitors at Amazon, ESPN, and Fox Sports. The sense I keep getting is none of them view it as a must-have. So where does the conference find leverage? In theory, it could look outside those three, but others all come with issues, namely exposure, because NBC, CBS, Apple TV would want to make it mostly a streaming deal. Mostly a streaming deal. Now, put yourself in the place of Oregon or Washington or Utah's president or athletic director. And if this is true, Andrew Marchand, who is one of the best, if not the best guys, giving us information in regards to TV contracts, media contracts, imagine if this is true, place yourself in their position. Would you sign this deal? What are your options? Do you stall for more time? Do you look at alternatives? Let's continue. If they were, Apple, of course, doesn't have a broadcast network, while NBC has its new primetime Big Ten games starting in the fall and Notre Dame home games in the afternoon. And CBS has afternoon Big Ten on broadcasts. Maybe there's an opening for a Saturday night Pac-12 schedule on broadcast TV, but it doesn't feel like a match, at least not for big money. So in the first part of the article that was put out today on the New York Post by Andrew Marchand, SBJ writer, Sports Business Journal, he's talking about it's mainly these potential media partners are mainly streaming deals, not just the Amazon portion, but like the CBS portion. Let's go to the last part of the article. Amazon did well with Thursday Night Football, but beyond the obvious fact that the NFL is a far different animal than the Pac-12, Thursday Night Football also is a standalone game. Pac-12 matchups are in competition with endless other college games. There are going to be deals to be made for the Pac-12, but will they be strong enough to stave off more realignment? Especially with the Big 12's agreement with ESPN, allowing for further payments if Power 5 schools are added. That's the pro rata clause in the Big 12 contract with ESPN mostly. ESPN has that pro rata clause with the Big 12. The Pac-12 should be able to get close to the nearly $32 million per school that the Big 12 received. But the Pac-12 will have to realize that it's more in competition with the Big 12 and not the Big 10. And on top of all this, the Pac-12 may owe Comcast $50 million for overcharging. Not good. So, with what John Wilner is saying, what Andrew Marchand is saying, what others are saying, even Kazano, it looks like Pac-12's future is resting on the knife's edge. This thing could go either way, and it looks like John Wilner's 33% versus 67% survival, 33% extinction. Survival only being a 5.5-point favorite over extinction. It looks like John Wilner was correct, and I was wrong. I had it at about a 10% chance of extinction. But this is getting dicey. Getting dicey. If you go back all the way back to episode 52 of Peek Around the Corner, we had the intel of Oregon, the money perch, telling us that they are not going to sign a grant of rights that has any teeth in it, and that you can consider Washington in the same boat. And now you have the potential of this Pac-12 deal being mostly streaming. Not just Amazon, but like CBS would be a streaming deal. That part of the deal. The visibility, the exposure part of this deal is not going to measure up to what the Big 12 has. Not even close. And now you have San Diego State sitting there in the catbird seat. Because Pac-12, there's no question about it. John Wilner talked about it as well. They're looking to expand. I think they really need to expand. If they get this deal done, they're going to have to expand because they need the inventory. If ESPN makes this deal, they want that fourth time window, slot window for Pac-12. That's how they get more bandwidth for ESPN coverage of college football. That's where ESPN would get its value in the Pac-12 deal. Pac-12 is going to need to be able to deliver the inventory to their media companies. And they're not going to rely on Oregon and Washington for those schools to play the late game every single week. You don't want to do that. Of course, there's other reasons. Southern California, that San Diego represents, Pac-12 needs that. Kyle Whittingham, Utah's own coach, said months ago that he would want San Diego State in the Pac-12. Let's get to a phone call.
Call from
Dale Donuts.
Bill, you got the floor. Nice to hear from you.
I have the floor, really?
Yes, you've got the floor. At least 5 minutes.
Do you want me to dance or should I sing?
Whatever you want to do, sir. We sing here at Peek Around the Corner. Not very good, so if you want to sing, go ahead.
Oh, please don't do that again, Greg.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. No, real quick, I just wanted to comment on something and I've been wondering about this. You know, everyone talks about those ratings big ratings that Amazon had for the Thursday night. And then they said how it slowly started to die off. I'm wondering if everyone did what I did. You did the free one, and then you backed off and just canceled it. And I'm wondering if that's what happened. Everyone tapered off. I started to watch a little bit of NFL, and I saw my Rings of Power, and I canceled it. That's what I did.
Okay.
I can't help wondering if other people did the same thing, and that's what, why they said, okay, it was good at first, then it struggled. If that's the case, no one paid.
Possibly. Now, that first week ratings, although it was the highest ratings I believe Amazon got for the whole season, it still was under what the NFL got for the Thursday night first week of the year previous. So the ratings were still down.
Correct.
But you are correct that it was above projections. They got more than what they thought they were going to get. Then it declined under projections of what they thought they were going to get. Maybe that's part of it. I just happen to think that people just are not used to going to Amazon to watch live sport content. And it's going to take time.
I agree with that.
And then you throw in the fact that college football games being played on Saturday, it's all filled up on ESPN and Fox and CBS and NBC, and people are going to have to think, wait, there's a game on Amazon? They're going to switch over to your streaming and then back to regular cable, back to regular network or cable. I think it's going to be difficult, at least for the first 4 years of this Pac-12 deal. I think they're going to suffer with visibility. I think they know that. They know that. Now, the question I have for you, Bill, and everybody else is, if Andrew Mashad is correct, that the Pac-12 is going to get a deal, the universities are going to get a deal that has less visibility, no question about it, and less money. Now you got to ask yourself, does Arizona give the Big 12 another look?
Oh man, that's something that I couldn't answer.
Yeah.
This solely rests on Kliavkoff over in the Pac-12, and to tell you the truth, I don't know if he's the man for it. For all we know, he could be out in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then you could get someone else to come in and do the job, get it done. They may opt for something like that. We don't know. I mean, I got to be honest, this guy has been lying for the last 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he has said some very odd things during the last couple months. We've talked about it here that I think might have hurt his credibility internally. Sort of like what Kevin Warren did, but different. But still, he hurt his credibility. Like when Kliavkoff went out and said that UCLA would make less money joining the Big Ten because of increased travel and stuff. We all knew that was just bogus, but yet he said it, and then he doubled down on it. According
my
to
favorite was.
Yep.
Sorry, my favorite one was when he said, Coach Prime, we were waiting on him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah.
I still laugh at that one every time I hear it. But anyway, yeah, no, I keep wondering if to salvage it, maybe they just need to get someone else. That's all.
That could be. And John Wilner did say in his last piece at the Mercury News that he had some sources telling him that people are still buying into George Kliavkoff, and he had some sources telling him that they believe George Kliavkoff did not act quickly enough, aggressively enough. I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not saying the exact words that was in that piece, but basically it looks like it's split. George Kliavkoff might be losing support. It happened to Kevin Warren for different reasons. Lack of communication was Kevin Warren's issue. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You could be right. He could be out of a job in 6 weeks from now.
Well, it could. If you look in the history of some of these conference commissioners in the past, like those that became puppets were no longer around. I look back at that guy Dan Beebe that the Big 12 used to have. Mm-hmm. He was the puppet for Texas, right?
Yes.
And look what all happened.
Yes, you're right about that. That's a very good point.
Is this guy going to be the same with Oregon and Washington?
He could be. You make a very good point about being a puppet. If you're a puppet soon, you don't have a job anymore. Doesn't work out.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done.
All right, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah.
J. Perlmutter. I finally said your name correctly. Thank you for the donation. I'll get back to you in a second, Jay.
Call from. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Hello.
Hey, Greg, it's Moen.
Oh, Monavision.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Buckeyes in the house. What do you got to say for yourself?
Let's talk some coaching, Greg.
Huh?
Let's talk some head coaching now.
Okay, head coaching.
Jim Harbaugh.
Yes.
Is committed to Michigan.
He is?
But he has the Denver ownership group fly to Ann Arbor, have an in-person interview with them.
Yeah.
how committed can you be to a program when you're allowing that to happen?
I don't know. I talked about it in an episode. I got ripped on by a few Michigan fans, I got to tell you. Because according to Michigan sources on On3 and other sites, they're saying that Jim Harbaugh has already turned down Denver for the second time. Why would all this stuff be happening if he actually turned them down a second time? It's a very odd situation.
Why would you have them fly across the country to turn them down?
It doesn't make any sense.
As soon as they call you to schedule an appointment, you could just say, no, thank you, I'm happy.
Yeah, and
this does not look good for I don't understand how you can release a statement saying I'm committed, and then you're taking a second interview.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, especially when you are the person, Jim Harbaugh, that called the Michigan president, not the athletic director. You made a call to the president, according to the president of Michigan, Sano Ono, and said to him, I'm coming back to Michigan. And then the president put out a big release saying Jim Harbaugh's coming back, and I'll let the athletic director know that he's coming back. Just a very odd situation. Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, I think my theory is that once they passed on, I think Harbaugh was so afraid of being rejected when the Sean Payton news came out, and then Sean Payton passed, and it opened that door again where he might get the job, that he's, I think he's trying to play both sides of the hand there, and it's really, I love it from an Ohio State fan point.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing better than Michigan fans having that much agita about Jim Harbaugh, but
and I don't like
it's just amazing to me.
I don't like this story from a Minnesota Gopher perspective, because I think PJ Fleck would be probably at least top 5, 6 on the hot board list. I will say this. I better not go that direction.
All right.
Yeah.
But the other thing I would mention too, in regards to coaching, what are you thinking about Grubb leaving Washington to possibly go to Alabama?
Yeah, that's been reported on here in the last few hours. Offensive coordinator, Washington Huskies, potentially leaving. I don't know. I didn't get to read the article. I just saw the headline. I'm gonna have to take another look at it. But there's an offensive coordination carousel going on right now, right? So pretty fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see how that would play out if he does accept the job, because I know he's a very pass-happy coordinator, and more or less, Saban's been a guy who's run the ball.
Yep.
But that level of talent they've got down there in Alabama, that could be explosive in that SEC race next year. So
I think Saban fell in love with the Lane Kiffin experiment when he was offensive coordinator, and Grubb probably gets him back to that type of offense. So yeah, I could see why Saban would want him, and I can see why Washington doesn't want it to happen, because Michael Penix is coming back next year. They got their 2 great wide receiver, Ondunze and McMillan, coming back. And now they're about to lose their play caller. A lot of things have been going right for Washington in the offseason. This could be one of those things that would be going wrong for them.
Well, it's turning into an arms race down there trying to keep up with LSU and Georgia. So I think it'll be really interesting. But before I get off here, Greg, I just want to let you know, no future Big Ten expansion without Notre Dame.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Take it easy, Greg.
Appreciate it, sir. Okay, they have released the ACC 2023 schedule matchup to watch for week 1. They're talking about on the ACC network. We're doing a couple things tonight, so we're going to be all over the place. Let's look at, first of all, the ACC permanent rivals in 2023. Remember, they're going to a 3-3-5 format. 3 permanent rivals, and then they're going to be rotating 5 non-permanent rivals every other year. So they're going to be playing everybody in the ACC almost once every 2 years, because you got to throw the Notre Dame equation in there. The ACC permanent rivals: Boston College, Miami, Pitt, Syracuse, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, Duke, North Carolina State, Wake Forest, Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Louisville, and Wake Forest. Louisville has Georgia Tech, Miami, Virginia. Miami has Boston College, Florida State, and Louisville. North Carolina, Duke, North Carolina State, Virginia. North Carolina State has Clemson, Duke, North Carolina. Pitt, Boston College, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. That one right there is probably the easiest permanent rival slate of any school in the ACC, in my opinion. Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, Pitt, Virginia, Louisville, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Virginia, Wake Forest, Duke, Georgia Tech, and Virginia Tech. They're going through week 1 right now. I'll keep an eye on it. I will post interesting information coming out of the release of the ACC schedule. One of my major rants is why they're having Syracuse versus Pittsburgh playing on Yankee Stadium in November 11th. We just saw a Gopher game, Gophers versus Syracuse, in a bowl game late December. The field was horrific. None of the plays could stand up. Now, I did have people talk me off the ledge. Tony Altamore, a great guy, great resource for everything college football, academics, research. Great guy on Twitter. You see him on YouTube channels talking about college football. He talked me off the ledge and said New York City weather in November isn't the same as late December, and he's correct on that. But man, I do not like to see these college football players play in these baseball fields because the turf is always in bad condition. Don't like to see it. The type of play, the quality of play just drops dramatically. People can't stand up. Anyways, that's just one of my rants for this evening. 5 ACC teams play neutral site games in week 1. Louisville, Georgia Tech, UNC versus South Carolina, Virginia at Tennessee, LSU at Florida State, week 1. LSU at Florida State. Jake Perlmutter, thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate it, sir. Calamoni based on California revenue to Bruin revenue delta anywhere from 2 to 10 million. Guess now UCLA should be happy it's capped. Go Bruins. Thank you for the comment, Jay. Thank you for your support. Perlmutter. I finally said your name correctly. All right, here we go. Let's get back into these comments. Make a phone call, 763-260-1333. We're covering everything here tonight. The Pac-12 future is resting on the knife's edge. We're talking about the ACC. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. First meeting of the River City rivalry since 2012. Week 2. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Thursday night, September 7th. Murray State at Louisville. Saturday, September 9th. Let's see if there's any big games. Appalachian at North Carolina. South Carolina State, Georgia Tech. Notre Dame at North Carolina State. That's September 9th. September 9th. Texas A&M at Miami. Texas A&M at Miami, Florida. Another big game in week 2. Again, on the ACC network, they're releasing the ACC football schedule as we speak. So we're going to be announcing interesting stuff throughout the night here. Texas A&M at Miami, Saturday, September 9th. There's no two schools in the country, really, who had more disappointing seasons than the A&M Aggies and Miami, Florida Hurricanes. Holy smokes. Cristobal, Jimbo Fisher. Someone's got to win that game. Someone has to win that game. September 9th, Saturday. All right, let's get to the comments. Let's get the party started. Joel, you are absolutely correct. James Foster, right on. Time to roll one day closer to the PAC schools, facing their harsh reality. Ted, I never thought the Big Ten would break up the PAC by taking the LA schools and then doing nothing. Don't think the Big Ten's going to act at all. James Foster says Wilner knows nothing. He's always blowing smoke up his West Coast Regis backside. Now all he's doing is stating the obvious. I will say this, James. Notre Dame at North Carolina State. Big matchup, as we talked earlier. Week 2, September 9th. I will say this, though. I was a lot more optimistic than Wilner was a couple days ago. Now I think he's correct. So Wilner wasn't blowing smoke a few days ago. He was being realistic. I was the one who was being way too optimistic for the Pac-12. Still the favorite, the chalk is the Pac-12 maintains their 10 schools and they expand with San Diego State and SMU. It's getting dicey. And it's getting dicier every single day a deal doesn't get done. Tony, no Bay Area schools to the Big Ten. Not going to happen. Not now. Not for quite a while if it ever happens. Dale Donis, nice to see you in the house, sir. Greg says the deal comes to fruition. Then they choose to expand. I have a hard time believing they will accept a historically religious institution like SMU. Cal and Stanford will not be on board. SMU is not the same SMU as it was before. Neither is TCU. So you got to keep that in mind. SMU still, though, is not a Pac-12 institution. They don't have research. But undergraduate, they're a high academic school in that regard. So I think SMU I think they're the clear number 2. And I think Fresno State is number 3. But in regards to expansion candidates, but I think there's a gap there. SMU, they bring the market, they bring the recruiting grounds. Of course, SMU doesn't have the fan intensity inside their market. No real G5 school does that. But SMU, I'm telling you, if they move to the Pac-12, they're going to get a lot of juice out of that move. And I think the Pac-12 will benefit. I don't think there's any doubt the Pac-12 will benefit. And if it comes to every Pac-12 school losing $1 million or $2 million to bring on SMU, I think they should do it. I know that's a hard pill to swallow. I know many Pac-12 fans are telling me, Greg, you don't know what you're talking about. But they have to expand. They have to increase the inventory to take advantage of the full value of a potential media deal with potential media partners. Get the deal done, then expand. You've got to expand. You've got to get to Southern California. And I think SMU candidacy is far greater, far more valuable than Fresno State, Boise State.
Call from
Wild Ute.
Wild Oot. Wild Oot is in the house. Nice to hear from you, sir.
Hey.
You got the floor. It's about San Diego State, I'm sure.
You bet it's about San Diego State. I really think that we need to do a deep dive here in the pros and cons of adding San Diego State.
All right.
As far as the Pac-12 goes. And I guess this is all going to be a moot point if the conference doesn't survive after the meetings today, because it's a little shaky right now.
Yes, it is.
Shaky ground for the PAC.
Yes.
But I'm going to go into the assumption of their survival in the future here for the PAC. So I've thought about this quite a bit. I've read some articles on San Diego State, seen Wilner's stuff, even read Kyle Whittingham's comment, and he's supportive of adding San Diego State for the Utes as the head coach of the Utes. But really looking at the pros and cons of adding San Diego State here and expanding it all for the PAC. And, I've compiled some thoughts here. So some pros. Let's lay out some pros for adding San Diego State to the Pac-12. And number one's got to be recruiting. The fruitful grounds of Southern California and the San Diego market. I mean, that's I think the biggest win of all, and that's pretty much one of the driving reasons why you do it. Also, just adding the market, trying to recoup some of that market. Yeah. So really, those, in my mind's eye, those are the two strengths really with adding San Diego State. You're never going to replace USC nor UCLA. They're always going to have probably superior recruiting even in that area, but at least you have some connection to it. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's look at some cons of adding San Diego State here. I don't think that San Diego State's necessarily going to move the financial needle for the conference. Meaning, if you're looking at the bar, and what's the per school payout estimates? Anywhere from $30 million to $32 million to $35 million, within a couple million difference there. Yeah. If you add San Diego State, are you really moving that needle up? Are you moving from $30 million to $35 million? Or does that actually pull everybody's allotment down? Is everyone getting paid less by adding them in? Is it accretive or not? I don't think it is. And I think that the reason it's not, here are two ideas for that. Number one, small fan base. And I looked at the figures this year. San Diego State had 380,000 fans watching each of their television games this year. 380,000 on average. So, not really what you want to see. It's not going to really move the needle a lot with television revenue, television contracts. Their sports, the basketball's good. Football, I would say, is kind of average, above average maybe. Yeah. So I don't think sports are okay, but they don't really, it's not a huge strength necessarily even, that. And then some other things to consider too, it doesn't add a new TV time spot for the PAC. I mean, you're still in the Pacific time zone. You add SMU, you at least get in the Central time zone to add more games, your inventory. So it doesn't add a new time spot. And then academically, they're improving. They're getting there, but they're still not the level of a lot of the Pac-12 teams already. So how I see it, there are more cons than pros. If this is survival or not, and you add San Diego State to keep the conference alive, you do it. Yeah. But I don't see this really changing the game over the next 10 years for the PAC. This isn't the saving grace, adding San Diego State nor adding SMU. It's not going to entice Oregon or Washington to stick around longer. I mean, it's just kicking the can down the road 5-7 years.
Okay. You make a lot of great comments, like always, Wild Dude. You are a no for San Diego State to be included into the Pac-12 expansion plans. However, let me just hang this on you. Let me know what you think. I happen to think, now, no, San Diego State does not move the needle economically for the Pac-12, right? They're going to be dilutive. Right. Each Pac-12 school is probably going to lose a little bit of money because they're adding San Diego State. However, if J.D. Wicker is listening to College Football Speak Around the Corner and George Kliakoff is listening, this is how you make the deal for everybody. We know that the college football playoffs, expanded playoffs, are happening in 2024. 2024, 2025. And then there's going to be a new college football playoffs in 2026. We don't know how that's going to work out yet. We don't even know how many teams are going to be in that expanded playoffs yet. But see, I think how they made the distribution for 2024 and 2025, the distribution model for the college football playoffs, I think it plays right into the wheelhouse of Pac-12 expanding. And this is what I mean. Each Power 5 football program is going to get paid a whole lot of money. I don't know what that figure is. Depending on how much money the whole playoff 11 games gets you. Like, does it get you $2.2 billion a year, like some people projected about a year ago? Is it more? Is it less? But each of those Power 5 programs are going to get a flat fee. Each school. It's not going to be paid per conference. So having more members in a conference for 2024 playoffs distribution money isn't going to harm you. Okay? Currently, it does. Currently, and next year is going to be the last year of this playoff model and this playoff distribution model. Currently, the same amount of money gets distributed. Forget about the performance of who makes it to the playoffs. Let's push that aside. But the base money is the same going to the SEC, to the Big Ten, as it is the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12. Same amount of money. I think it's like in the high 70, 79, 78. I could be off. Something like that. It's going to be way more in the new playoffs. So just hang with me here. The new playoff distribution money is each school gets paid the same amount in the Power 5. Then there's going to be an added bonus, of course, if you make it to the 4-team invitational. Okay? But each team makes the same amount. And it's going to be dramatically more than the G5 schools. Currently, 80% of the playoff expanding distribution money goes to the Power 5 conferences and 20% goes to the G5 conferences. Going in 2024, it looks like it's going to be about the same thing. But again, each Power 5 school gets the same amount. So San Diego State, going from a G5 to a Power 5, will get dramatically more money. I'm talking, I wish we did an episode on this a while ago. I'll do one again here, hopefully in the next week or so. But it's going to be a lot of money. That money can be San Diego State, J.D. Wicker. Do not go for the perfect deal. Get you a deal that gets you into a Power 5 conference. So if San Diego State is willing to distribute that extra money that they would receive to just being in a Power 5 conference, that playoff distribution money, if they deliver that, distribute that to the other Pac-10, Pac-12 schools, then I think those Pac-12 schools will be made whole. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Then in 2026, when the playoff money is going to be even greater, we call that the gold rush of 2026, here at Peek Around the Corner, that money's going to be just flowing in. First of all, it could be bigger than 12 teams, playoffs. It may not be, it may be. But you also have to factor in that there's going to be open bidding for these 11 playoff games. Open bidding in the market. So you're going to have even more money. So Pac-12 should not put handcuffs on themselves and say, let's stick to 10. Bring that extra playoff money into the 11 school and the 12 school. Have those two schools for the next 6 or 7 years distribute their extra playoff money to the other Pac-12 schools to make them whole. Get them in the boat for these next 6 or 7 years, and then you have 12 teams going forward. That's how I would put it. As you have to put that as a pro for San Diego State and SMU.
That's a creative solution. Another simple solution saying San Diego State come in the conference at 60% of the share.
Or,
I mean, when the Utes came in, when Utah came in, they were at 50% of the share for years and stuff. So I think that if they take a cut in the revenue share, that makes it much more appetizing for everybody else. And maybe you can bump up Washington, Oregon a little bit more.
And that should be a part of the deal. However, I'm a little worried about, J.D. Wicker did say just a few days ago, he says, I'm paraphrasing it, but he said basically, look, Pac-12, take us in as a full ride, full deal, full media shares. He said full media shares because we got the Big 12 option as well. So he's playing the two against each other. So we'll see. But I appreciate the call. You made some great points. Wild Oot is a no. Wonder if there's any yeses in the chat room for San Diego State. we'll find out. But thanks for the call, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Okay. Notre Dame at Duke, Saturday, September 30th. Pittsburgh at Virginia Tech, September 30th. Friday night game, Louisville at North Carolina State, the 29th. Okay, I'm way behind in the comments. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate the donation, super chat. Appreciate your generosity, sir. Thank you so very much. All right, phone number 763-260-1333. We got so much to get to, so many comments. Buckshot Kid. Nice to see you in the house. Hypothetically, can the Big Ten accept any school from the ACC next year so their spot programs can join, even though the football program can't leave yet, just to prepare for a full move to the Big Ten? We at Peek Around the Corner believe they cannot. Buckshot Kid, if you look at the ACC bylaws, and they are publicly available, you will see in the withdrawal penalty portion of the bylaws, it does say, basically, if you commit, I'm paraphrasing again, if you commit or if you plan on leaving the conference before the grant of rights, you get penalized. And I really don't think they can. Not now they can't. Not for next year. Not for many, many years. As we believe right now. There is a story out there for those who are new to our channel. There is a story out there that's a brewing. It's starting to ripe. We at Peek Around the Corner, we almost talked about it on December 26th, but we stood down. It has to do with ACC country. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. There's a developing story. We'll talk about it when it is the right time and not any time sooner. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Okay. Peter Johnson, nice to see you in the house. Greg, I feel the best case for the top of the pack is finding some creative ways to do something drastic. And what would those creative ways be? I understand where you're coming from, Peter. I understand where you're coming from. It isn't, I don't think the option is theirs to create a new conference or whatever. Don't think they have many options. But they are going to they are going to use their leverage. And I think one of those leverage points is the grant of rights. I think there are going to be schools that are going to make sure that they create an exit hatch, that the grant of rights of the ACC isn't going to be as strong as your traditional grant of rights is. I'm sorry, the Pac-12 is not going to create a grant of rights that has long teeth to it. I think that is one of the leverage points, and that's one of the things that is causing this delay, possibly unequal revenue sharing as well. We shall see. Tony, I saw the Big Ten hired the same search firm Ask the Pac and the Big 12 used, among others. Yes, the Big Ten hired Turnkey Consultant Group. They've been doing a lot of this lately. That kind of helps the Big Ten in regards to the speed of this, because the Big Ten, they need a commissioner. They need a full-time commissioner. I know everyone's saying the deal's done. They don't really need a commissioner right now. Oh, there's so many issues the Big Ten has to figure out quickly. Because as we talk about here, Peek Around the Corner, the battle of 2026, however that new playoff system is going to look like, those battles are going to be waged in 2025 and 2024 and late in 2023. Big Ten needs a commissioner. They need a commissioner who knows the college football sports space. I don't think they should be bringing in someone from the NFL. They got the TV deal done, but they need to get it done. They need to get a new commissioner in quickly, because Turnkey went through a whole bunch of candidates for these other conferences. They have a nice laundry list. They've got some nice background checks, right? So hopefully that means the Turnkey being hired hopefully it speeds up the process here so the Big Ten can get a commissioner in a few months from now. Let's hope. Sargon of Akkad, the Monty Show is reporting. Thanks for coming in, Sargon. The Monty Show reported that the Pac-12 is looking at a deal of $25 million per school for 7 years. Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and Arizona State have all refused to ratify. This was on Twitter. Thank you for that information. I'll get to you in a second.
Call from
Jim Brockoff.
Jim, nice for you to call. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, I want to know what you think of ESPN's role in this, because they're known to try to cut people out to save money, and I wonder if they're trying to cut the Pac-12 in half to have some of them come to the Big 12, and that's their late night vision, and save money instead of paying 10 of them, pay 4 or 6 of them. Is that something the ESPN would do?
Yes. That's what
I thought too.
Very good comment. And now I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I can completely understand why you are thinking this, why you are speculating this, and I would consider that an educated speculation.
I have no proof of that. I just, being a Big 12 fan, a K-State fan, I've seen ESPN come and probably not treat us very nicely at times. They sort of saved us back here a couple different times, but they've also cut pieces out of us, I guess, is what I would say.
I don't blame you for thinking this is. I don't blame you for thinking that this is a possibility or even a strong possibility, because look, Brett Yormark, he's sitting out there. They were scheduled, Big 12 was scheduled not to be able to start negotiations with their current media partners, Fox and ESPN, for another 18 months. But yet, when Brett Yormark knocked on the door of ESPN and Fox Sports and said, hey, can we enter this exclusive window earlier, a year and a half earlier, and possibly bump us up ahead of Pac-12 negotiations with you all? Can we do that? Can we do that? What did ESPN say? They said yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Oh, I know.
They said yes.
I think that's writing on the wall. Again, I have no proof, and you probably don't either.
No.
But I think that is what's playing into this, and I think Pac-12 has been lowballed by ESPN and Fox.
Yeah.
With cutting out some pieces. Unfortunately, there's some that are players, and there's some that are not.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to cut some of the poorer markets out and take some of the bigger markets into either the Big Ten or the Big Ten or the Big 12. And I know the Big Ten's not expanding, so that leaves the Big 12.
Yes, sir.
And Yormark's mentioned many times he wants to go to the West Coast.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So that's just my thoughts. My only other thought is, the question is, SMU to the Pac-12. If it is the ESPN that gets the bit, they've already got 6 Texas schools. Why would they want another one in their package? Is the question I have.
That's another great point.
I know SMU fits Stanford and those guys, but
yeah. No, that's another great point. I just happen to think that whoever gets most of this Pac-12 deal, if a Pac-12 deal gets done, I think ESPN will just get a minority slice of it. I think they'll get some of those fourth window games, right, late at night.
And that's what they want, I think.
Yeah. So maybe the SMU thing won't affect that so much, But yeah, great comments. Please call again.
I have one quick follow-up question.
Got it. Yep.
How many windows are still open in not prime time, not late night, excuse me, but either the 2:30 or 6 o'clock, the more regular times. How many of them are actually even still open?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I couldn't give you a number. I'd have to.
That's fine.
But not a whole heck of a lot. And that's why.
All right. I appreciate it, Greg.
Yeah.
I love listening to you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Great call. Please call again. Great comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Wow. Just another example of what a great chat community we have here at Peek Around the Corner. Great call. Fantastic call. I'm sorry. I had a comment here. Monty Show reporting Pac-10 is looking at a deal of $25 million per school for 7 years. Oregon, Washington, Arizona State have all refused to ratify. This was on Twitter. Saragon, could you please forward me that tweet to Flug Empire? You see it on the thing behind, underneath the screen there. Just give me that tweet. I appreciate it. I would like to read that. Very interesting that it's Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and Arizona State. You have to wonder, like Oregon and Washington have all this, they do have leverage. Let's be honest. Come on. They have leverage in these negotiations with Kliavkoff. Maybe not a whole heck of a lot because they don't have a lot of other options, but they do have some leverage. Remember, Oregon and Washington were told, or at least according to the New York Times by Billy Wick, saying that if during those UCLA, when the University of California Board of Regents was having those board meetings, and they were saying, and there was a possibility that UCLA would get blocked and they would come back to the Pac-12, that George Kliavkoff and the Pac-12 would give UCLA unequal revenue out of the media deal. That UCLA would be making in the high 40s, and then the rest of the schools would be making in the second tier money. Not as much money as UCLA, and then San Diego State and whoever would be the bottom, the third tier of the unequal revenue sharing. So, Oregon and Washington, they read that same column we all did from the New York Times. So now UCLA is not going to stay in the Pac-12. So Oregon and Washington, they have to be pressing that leverage point. That and the grant of rights, making sure they get an exit hatch out of the conference if some other opportunity arises. All right, another phone call. Beautiful.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Greg. First of all, I want to say I really enjoy your shows. They've been great. I appreciate the content you put in. Doing a great job. For those jerks that have been wanted personal attacks to them, they can just go to hell.
Yeah.
But
that's okay. Yeah.
I appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, Canzano had an interesting piece today. He said that his original projections were about 27 to 29 million, and then he heard some Pac-12 executive after the Big 12 deal said he thought he could get more. Of course, Pac-12 executives are probably doing Kliavkoff math on the back of envelopes. So I think it's interesting that it's probably going to be around 30 to 32 million. I think Marshawn's exactly on. He's actually never wrong. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think Arizona and possibly ASU have to be a little bit worried of anything that wouldn't really bind Washington or Oregon long term, because they're most likely the ones left out in the cold. I think Colorado and Utah might be trying to angle for the Big Ten, but I don't think that's coming. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks. I hope everything turns out well for college football, but you never know these days, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's all I've got. Enjoy the show, and thanks a lot, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you so very much for that phone call. Appreciate it. Great comments. It's interesting. It's interesting the situation that Arizona and Arizona State is in. They can't wait forever. Neither can San Diego State. We talk about the perfect storm San Diego State is in. But what if the Pac-12 does implode? What if John Wilner's 33% chance comes in? Now what? Now you got the Big 12 incentivized to go grab some Power 5 programs in accordance to the pro rata clause with their media partner ESPN, right? So now San Diego State could be on the outside looking in. Don't get me wrong. San Diego State, this could not be a better situation for them. But again, waiting and waiting and waiting. Maybe they should. If the Big 12, if an invitation presents itself, maybe San Diego State should just, what is that saying? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, more than two in the bush, whatever that saying is. So San Diego State might want to take that invitation if it's out there. That's the problem with this waiting. It's the great unknown. It's the prisoner dilemma. You cannot trust what the other guy next to you is about to do or not do. It's just a fascinating situation. John Wilner says it takes another 4 to 6 weeks. People are going to be getting anxious, looking for alternatives. People are anxious right now. No question about it. Is there any news coming out of that meeting? Is it anything on Twitter? Let me know. Let us all know in the chat room. Is anybody reporting any information coming out of that meeting? Let's get to the comments again. Let's get to the comments. Saragan, I appreciate it. I'll look for that tweet. Okay, here we go. Just trying to find some... Daniel Monacasso, nice to see you in the house, sir. ESPN needs to get a deal done with the Pac-12 sooner rather than later. They'll probably slightly increase the deal if it's a longer deal, say 10 to 15 years. Sure. The longer the deal, the more the media companies willing to give these conferences. But I don't think there's any way the Oregon and Washington and Utah are going to sign that long of deal. Again, it's got to be a deal that George Kliavkoff can thread the needle, where the media companies are confident enough that they'll get enough value for the money that they're offering, that Oregon and Washington get enough of a exit hatch out of the deal, right? Everyone's got to be a good enough deal where Arizona won't say yes to the best basketball conference in America, the Big 12. George Kliavkoff has to thread the needle. And this is a commissioner who has said some very odd things in the last few months. And unfortunately for George Kliavkoff, you got this other commissioner in the Big 12 named Brett Yormark, who's selling, being aggressive. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. This is the tagline here at Peak Around the Corner. I want to get to a point here. A previous caller made a comment saying something about don't worry about the personal attacks that you get, Greg Flugar, out there. I'm not worried. Thank you so very much for saying that. I understand there's revisionist history out there. There's lots of it. I get it. When we reported on March 31st here at Peak Around the Corner at Flug Empire that USC called the Big Ten, that they were looking to get into the conference, and then the next 3 months that we put out all this information that USC called a loan, all this stuff. We were told we were nuts and crazy. We were told we didn't have real information. We gave our real information. We gave it to media companies. USC 247, Minnesota 247, and we also gave it to All Eyes on Big Ten podcast. We also gave evidence that every single time we mentioned USC to the Big Ten on Twitter, that we were followed by the Big Ten officials. Every single time. We gave real-time evidence to media companies. Go back, if you're new to the channel, go back to episode 22 of our channel. We break it all down, how we were fortunate to get the information, fortunate to call the right shots and the right people to forward the information, and we gave it to you all in March, April, and May. The people who said that USC did not call the Big Ten, or this was not happening, are the same people today are saying that of course this was going to happen, of course USC was going to join the Big Ten. Look, BTM and our associates, our sources, they're not infallible. They get things wrong. They only see things from a certain perch. We've said this over and over again. We have been fortunate here at Peek Around the Corner and at Flag Empire to break multiple local and national stories because of these sources. But they only see it from one angle. Okay? So, when at USC, when people say that Greg just guessed it correctly, that has been proven incorrect over and over and over again. I don't know what else we could possibly do, honestly. It was leaked out of the city of Los Angeles. That information was given to Big Ten perch, Big Ten money people. They gave it to us. They've given other information that we have broken. They had their motivations. We explained the motivations. We sent this information off to media companies. We sent the proof that the Big Ten knew that we knew, and they wanted to clamp down on the story. We sent them the proof over and over and over again. The story was picked up by the Los Angeles Times after it was said and done. We were fortunate to have major college football reporters call us, me, and say, congratulations. Oh, Greg, you were right. USC did call a loan. Oh, it did happen before March 31st. Everything you said. The personal attacks that are coming out, the revisionist history by many people out there, that comes with the territory. That just comes with this all. But this show is not for everybody. This show is college football's Peek Around the Corner. We speculate, we debate, we do it in a very kind fashion. We do this among each other in this community, and we have a great time. I do predictions. I'm called Greg the Cooler because I get most of them wrong. Go the other way when I make a pick. It's fun. It's fun. Then we have intel. And we have more intel. Another story that we're going to do later this spring. So buckle up, brace for impact. But this show is not for everybody. If you need to listen to ESPN, if you need to listen to Fox Sports, if you need to listen to someone who has a tie on, you go right ahead. But this is the outlaw, rebel home of college football if you're a fan. Right here at College Football, Peek Around the Corner. So smash that like content. Smash that like button if you like our content. Subscribe to our channel if you like what we are doing here at Peek Around the Corner. If you don't, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Okay, another rant is over. Let's get back to your comments and your phone calls. Rebecca Salisbury, Mrs. Husky. Again, thank you for your donation on me singing your fight song. I did the best I could. That is a very unique song. It starts out in a minor chord. I'm not very talented, so it was just a little bit above my ability to do so, but I did the best I can. Rebecca says, weirdly, the field in Oakland was amazing, but the stadium was trash when the Raiders and A's shared the stadium. We're going back and talking about college football games being played at baseball stadiums. I don't like it. I don't like it. Monovision. I think Grubb would do a phenomenal job with Alabama. And then he can position himself as a top-tier head coach job 3 years down the line. Rebecca says, I agree. The ultimate goal is to be a head coach. And Saban makes coaches into head coaches. Great comment. Great comment. Gerard Jones wants Florida State in the Big Ten. Okay. All right. Looking for comments. We got lots of them. Rebecca says the meeting today is a scheduled meeting. It used to be in March, but Kliakoff moved it the first quarter meeting to January instead. Again, thanks for that information, Rebecca. Again, if anybody has any reports coming out of that meeting, please put them in the comments section. Miami at Florida State, Saturday, November 11th. Miami at Florida State. Florida State is my way too early prediction to win the ACC championship and potentially get to the 14 playoffs. We've talked about Florida State a lot here in the last 2 weeks. People are getting tired of me talking about the Seminoles. But Jard Veras, the defensive end, is coming back. The quarterback was amazing last year. They got some beefy offensive linemen in the portal and a defensive tackle in the portal. Florida State Seminoles. Johnny Wilson, the great wide receiver, had over 20 yards per catch. Watch out, Florida State. Avery Cope, nice to see you in the house. I appreciate it. So the entire point of this is so they can be tethered to Berkeley and Stanford and the $30 million academic endowment. That's the incentive. That's silly to me. All right, lots of back and forth in the comments section. Stephen Vitt. For the Pac-12, either they add teams from the Mountain West Conference like Boise State, San Diego State, San Jose, and UNLV, or they're going to fold. There's no other path, in my opinion. I agree with you to a point, Stephen. I know Wild Oot and the others, very smart people in the chat, disagree with me. But they do need to expand. If they get a deal done, they need that inventory. They really do. Don't think 10 teams is going to do it. They think get to 12. And grab some, re-grab your recruiting yard there in Southern California as best as you can with San Diego State, and then go and grab a Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. But Stephen believes San Jose State, UNLV, or Boise State was a better deal. Jeremy LaHaye, nice to see you back in the house, sir. Bob Thompson estimates San Diego State's market value is $20 million, $25 million, based on being in the Mountain West Conference. Interesting. Thanks for that information. Ryan Thompson. Thanks for coming back in the house, sir. Appreciate it. Thoughts about Tulane being an expansion partner with SMU. Tulane is interesting, of course, right? Great university, AAU. They would match up perfectly academically, research-wise with the Pac-12. They do, they're a lot like SMU in the sense that a smaller athletic department, definitely smaller alumni base, definitely small fan intensity in Louisiana, right? They're a lot like SMU in that regard. But although they have more research than SMU. I would not have Tulane as a serious candidate in the Pac-12. But I can understand people speculating about Tulane. Great academic research university. I think they're going to dominate the AAC here in the next couple of years. The coach is going to stay there. They're going to be great next year. They were great this year. They won the Cotton Bowl against USC. But Tulane is on the come. We'll see what happens. But I do not think it's their time or their turn to get into the Pac-12. But we'll see. Great university. My niece, Anna, used to live right next to the university. Tremendous university. Monavision, again, we'd have better leverage staying in the carousel. He likely stays, but seems to revel in the flirtations. The chat room is still talking about Jim Harbaugh. Lannis 31. I doubt the Pac-12 gets a similar pro rata as the Big 12. Even the ACC doesn't have that. I agree with you, Lannis 31. Absolutely. I agree. Day Old Donuts just posted earlier. I guess this is from the Monty Show. I'm told the Pac-12 is looking at a deal for $25 million per school per year for 7 years. Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, and Arizona have all refused to ratify it. If that is true, then that 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction really comes into play. You got to think, if that is true, I'm not saying if it's true. We have no intel on that here at Peek Around the Corner. But if Arizona State and Arizona do have had some communication with the Big 12, and it sort of has gotten a wink and a nod from Brett Yormark or somebody as a go-between, then Arizona State and Arizona might feel that they have some leverage, right? They have some leverage because they're thinking, $31.6 million a year in the Big 12, great exposure. Arizona's thinking great exposure with Fox Sports and basketball, right? They're thinking this. So they have some leverage. Now, I don't doubt for a moment that Arizona State and Arizona would love to stay in the Pac-12 and have the Pac-12 continue. Both of those schools consider themselves Pac-12 institutions. I get all that. They don't want to leave Stanford and California, Oregon and Washington. They don't. But if they do have a wink and a nod from Brett Yormark, maybe they can leverage that, correct? Knowing what number, Pac-12, you've got to meet this number because we have this number. They're not telling them that they have this number from the Big 12. But internally, maybe Arizona's thinking we do have this from the Big 12. So Pac-12 has to get to this because we got this from the Big 12. So Pac-12 have to get to this in terms of value of money and exposure. And maybe Kliavkoff just can't get to that level that's needed for an Arizona and an Arizona State. Rebecca adds, if any of the four corner schools want to bolt, their best bet is to try and partner with Washington and Oregon to leave them with maximum money and exposure than taking other four corner schools. That's another scenario. Rebecca nails it. No, Arizona and Arizona State are sitting there going, Pac-12's not meeting the level that we need for value. And maybe they say, hey, to the Big 12, we're interested. They let Oregon and Washington know, and those are the four schools. I don't think so. But I do not blame anybody for speculating, for this wild speculation. Because as everybody in the chat has said, and we've said here at Peek Around the Corner, for this, since middle of November, the delay of getting a Pac-12 media deal done has created a vacuum, and something's going to fill that vacuum. Something's going to fill it up. When these leaders get anxious, I don't blame the speculation. I don't blame any of you for this speculation. Tony, December 26th, a black day for Peek Around the Corner fandom. Yes, it was. But you'll get paid back in full. I promise you. Jay Perlmutter, uneven revenue distribution, although seemingly more likely, is a dangerous to long-term health of the Pac-12. No question it's dangerous to the long-term health, but it might be the only thing that makes Pac-12 live for the short term. We'll see. We'll see. Bob Husley, $25 million, not $32 million, according to the Monty Show. Dado Donuts, Oliver Luck for the Big Ten commissioner. Rebecca Salisbury comes in with her joke. It better be a joke. Kliakov. Kliakov for the Big Ten commissioner. Rebecca's trying to get me to have a heart attack. She's paying me back for how I sung the Bow Down to Washington. She's trying to pay me back. I gave her a heart attack. Now she's giving me a heart attack back. I understand that. Gene Smith is the next Big Ten commissioner. Monovision is on the Gene Smith bandwagon. Gene Smith will welcome Notre Dame and Stanford into the fold. Well, it's going to take more than just welcoming Notre Dame. It's going to be taking a lot of convincing. Okay. I'm going to try to get to the more recent posts. I'm sorry. If you want to make sure your comment gets read, just hit the $, little donation, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Because I'm not going to be able to get to all these chats because we've got so many people in here, and I thank you so very, very, very much. We've got big stories we're going to be following here in February, in March. It's going to get hot. We're doing our way too early predictions for all these conferences. We've done the Big 12. What else did we do? We did the Big 12. We haven't done the Big 10. We haven't done the we did the Pac-12. We did the Pac-12 and the Big 12. So hopefully soon here we're going to be doing the way too early predictions of the SEC. That's on our schedule. Okay. C. John, nice to see you in the house, sir. I believe Stanford, Big Ten, may be the keystone that crumbles the pack. It starts a massive realignment domino. That could have been a few months ago, but I think Big Ten, we were told Big Ten expansion is done for now. We were told there was the decision window between August 15th and October 15th. And inside that window, the decision was no further expansion at this time. How long does the at this time mean? I don't know, but I think it's longer than today. I do not expect the Big Ten to act. Big Ten doesn't even have a commissioner right now, right? They don't even have a commissioner. I don't see the Big Ten expanding, nor do I see the Big Ten staying at 16, right? Maybe not even for the rest of this decade. But that's a story for another day. Sean saying, not tired of you talking about the Seminoles. Thank you. We're going to continue to talk about the Seminoles unless we see something in that spring game, unless something bad happens, some injuries, Sean, then we're going to have to take someone else in the ACC. But yes, we're going to be talking about the Seminoles and possibly other stuff in regards to Florida State as the months go on. Greg hasn't changed color yet. Someone make a Wisconsin comment. Greg's favorite coaching hires was Luke Fickell to Wisconsin. No, that's not good. That's not good at all. Sam J, it's okay, Greg. There are people in the chat room that know what's going on that will catch you up. Thank you, Sam J. Appreciate it. I need people to tell me what's going on. There's no question about it. If there's breaking news out there in regards to the Pac-12 meeting, put it in the chat room. I appreciate it. We'll talk about it. Lots of comments. Greg for Big Ten commissioner, that is not happening. That is not happening. I'm barely able to take the garbage out on the right night at the right time. So no, I'm not qualified to be Big Ten commissioner. Jesse Wilson, Rebecca, any news on Ryan Grubb? There was a report about Ryan Grubb being targeted for the new offensive coordinator job at Alabama. Big news. Big news. A lot of things going right for Washington here in the offseason. This could be the one negative thing that happens to the Huskies. We shall see. We shall see. Opie is saying, is it spring yet? You should play the theme from Jaws when you do spill the beans on December 26th show. Yeah, it's going to be a big show when we find, even if the story doesn't ripen, we're going to still let you know what we have. And no, we're not guessing it. We have information. Okay. Sam J., Gene Smith, and ACC Commissioner Phillips are the top two choices. Movie Time Blues. Nice to see you in the house, sir. I would pick Val Ackerman, the commissioner of the Big East. Val Ackerman. She's got to be on the hot board list for the commissioner for the Big Ten. Val Ackerman. K-Do. Nice to see you in the house, K-Do. Depending on the Pac-12 media deal, I think the first domino to fall will be Arizona and one other to the Big 12. I think a lot of people would agree with you, K-Do. A lot of people agree that Arizona is that first domino. If anything falls, it's Arizona, and it only makes sense. Really, it only makes sense. The Big 12 basketball conference is unbelievable, and it's going to stay unbelievable. They're going to bring in Cincinnati, BYU, Houston. Wow. And they got the Fox Sports media contract for their basketball, which is a beautiful platform for Big 12 exposure. It's one of the main reason why Gonzaga is very interested in joining the Big 12. Gonzaga is another piece of all this. We said a couple months ago that the decision window of Gonzaga to the Big 12 would be January, end of January. Here we sit in the end of January, but we haven't even seen the Pac-12's media deal. So Gonzaga's not going to make a decision, right? There's no way Gonzaga's going to make a decision until they see what the Pac-12 offers. The chalk continues to be that Gonzaga joins the Big 12 for the basketball conference. For basketball. But they got to see what the Pac-12 can offer. Right? Corey Belt, nice to see you in the house, $25 million. With Oregon and Washington unequal revenue sharing, the Big 12's deal is $31.6 million per school. More money and much better exposure seems to be a no-brainer for some Pac-12 schools to join the Big 12. I think a lot of people agree with you, Corey. A lot of people agree with you. Tony, where's the Big 12 football schedule? Don't know. That should be coming out real soon, right? We don't know if Oregon and Texas are leaving 1 year early, 2 years early, or not leaving early at all to join the SEC. If they're not leaving early, they'll enter the SEC in 2025. If they leave 1 year early, they'll be joined in 2024. If a miracle happens and they leave 2 years early, they'll be playing SEC football in September. I don't see that happening, but we still haven't seen a Big 12 football schedule. ACC is implementing a 3-5-5 scheduling model for 2023. 3 permanent rivals. Early in the show, we went through each school, their 3 permanent rivals. Then they're going to rotate the non-permanent rivals 5 and 5 every other year, and then throw in those Notre Dame games every year. ACC has officially eliminated the Atlantic and Coastal divisions. The top 2 teams will play in the ACC championship game. This is what we expect to happen in the Big Ten as well, and it's happening in the Pac-12 this year. Jesse Wilson. Greg, you said Texas and Oregon instead of Oklahoma. My bad. I meant Texas and Oklahoma. I do that quite often. Movie Time Blues. Greg's. It's possible that Oregon, Washington, California, Stanford are exploring football independence. I think, yes, it's possible. It's possible. It's much more possible that they're exploring football independence than forming a new football conference. I think it's even more possible, not much of a chance of it happening, but even more possible of a independent bundling of sorts to get a deal and that Oregon and Washington and Stanford and Utah would bundle their content together to make an independent deal with the media partner. I mean, it's a long, super long shot, but much better than forming a conference, a new conference. That's not a possibility. I don't believe. Again, some out of the box thinking has to be going on. Even if you're just dreaming something up to where you can use this thing as some sort of leverage. Because that's the problem with the Pac-12. They really just have no leverage. And you saw the news today. You saw the economic news today. Stocks dropping. I know it's just one day for the stocks, for the entire economy. But the media market is tightening. We've been talking about it for weeks. So this is bad timing. Bad timing for George Kliavkoff. Good timing for Brett Yormark. Bad timing for Kliavkoff. We've been talking about it. And now today was just another example. More layoffs in these tech companies. None of this is helping Pac-12 negotiations. Hold on one second. I might have something here. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay. Rebecca says, as long as Washington and Oregon remain, the conference stays. I would agree to the point where even, again, this is not the chalk, this is not the favorite, but even if an Arizona or someone else should leave to the Big 12, Pac-12 is still going to survive as long as Oregon and Washington stays. That's why Rebecca's comment, that's why this 33% number is so big when John Wilner said that. When he said there was a 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction. He did not say a 33% chance of Pac-12 having a different composition of schools or having a different roster of schools. He did not say that. He said 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction, which, Rebecca, I would say 33% chance that Oregon and Washington does an out-of-the-box type of move, which sounds crazy, but that's what John Wilner's saying. And Wilner is not Mr. Pessimistic. He's Mr. Optimistic, but suddenly now he's pessimistic about the Pac-12. Very good comment, Rebecca. Appreciate it. Garrett Raver, spill the tea, Greg. The tea will be spilled. The tea will be spilled. It will be. Give it time. We have to let the story ripen, and we will tell it. We will tell it here at Peek Around the Corner. So hang with us. Appreciate it, but hang with us. Lorenzo Haynes, I kind of see the Oregon, Washington seeing themselves above the Big 12. But at the same time, the new Big 12 will have a collection of some of the best medical schools nationwide. Kenneth, BYU got only $2 million less in the Big 12 deal than their own deal. Okay, so people are debating in the chat room, why did BYU move to a conference if independence was so good? Look, independence isn't that good. Here going into the future, it isn't that good. It's worse. That's what we talk about Notre Dame's situation. As an independent, even Notre Dame, one of the top, if not the top brand college football program in the country, even Notre Dame is losing leverage as the years go on as an independent. Yeah, you really don't want to join independent. I'm just talking about a leverage. Oregon and Washington, Stanford, leveraging, possibly doing this short term, because we don't know what the future is, especially in 2026 and beyond for the college football playoffs. Even in 2024, 2025, you have to be a conference champion, ranked as one of the top 4 conference champions to get a bye in the first round. Remember, and Notre Dame, so if Notre Dame goes undefeated in 2024, they're ranked number 1 in the country, they won't even get a first round bye. Right? I don't think schools want to line up for that. So, and there are other revenue streams that are being created by the conferences as we go forward. Right? Schools are bundling up their data to hopefully sell as a conference, as a bundled data, to hopefully sell to sports books. A consortium of sports books to send them real-time data for these sports books to show to their consumers that they've got real-time information coming in, they got real-time accurate injury information coming in, and everything else. They can market their sports books as Pac-12 sponsored, Big 12 sponsored, whatever. That's just one revenue stream. There's other revenue streams that the conferences can do. They're probably going to be creating some name, image, and likeness conference-wide contracts with student athletes. And of course, there's the potential of student athletes years down the line of being employees or quasi-employees of the schools. We won't get to that right here in this episode. But as the years go on, these conferences get stronger and NCAA gets weaker per the Supreme Court rulings, right, on NIL and other things. So going independent, not a real great thing. So BYU made the right decision. That door was open and they got on in. And congrats to BYU. Go for Oregon and Washington and Stanford. We're talking about out of the box, probably not going to happen, but an option they can talk about, formulate, possibly use it as leverage internally in the Pac-12, but probably not. But at least have something. And if they actually did it, it would definitely be short term until possibly another opportunity arises. We're just talking about speculation and how leverage can be created for some of the top brand schools in the Pac-12. Back to your comments. K-Do, hey Greg, does SDSU have any leverage with the PAC in terms of obtaining equal revenue sharing should the PAC give the invite? Not sure if I understand your question, K-Do. San Diego State, we talked about this earlier. We got a phone call from Wild Oot, who did a great job of discussing the pros and cons of an SDSU going into the Pac-12. One of the cons is they would not move the economic needle for the other Pac-12 schools. They would dilute the pies, the slice of revenues for the other Pac-12 schools. But I made the comment because the world is changing. The 2026 playoffs, 2024, 2025, but especially in 2026, that San Diego State, being a Power 5 program, they're going to get slotted in getting a whole bunch of money from the playoff distribution model, and they could possibly distribute that money to the other Pac-12 schools to make them whole, to help grease the skids for San Diego State to get an invite. I'm not sure that answers your question. Don't think San Diego State has a whole lot of leverage. I would not. Don't let, what's the saying? Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Don't look for the perfect deal. Just get the deal, J.D. Wicker. Get the deal done. That's what I would think. Al says only leverage San Diego State has its location. And a very good location it is. Good market. Monovision is keep hammering on the number one priority for Commissioner Smith. We'll be getting Notre Dame. Again, here you're sitting here at College Football's Peak around the corner. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our channel. You get notified of our next live show tonight. We're talking Pac-12. The future of the Pac-12 is resting on the edge, on the knife's edge. It could go either way. They had a meeting today. Doesn't sound like any leaks have happened. Nobody in the chat room has said there's no information, right? And if you want to, make sure your comment gets posted, talked about, put a little donation, $, donate to the show, help us keep the lights on here, peek around the corner. It's much appreciated. Our phone number is 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Just call on in. We're talking about the ACC football schedule. Right now, there was just released tonight. Which North Carolina game are you circling? That's the question right now on ACC Network. The game that North Carolina should be circling is September 16th at North Carolina. My beloved Minnesotan Gophers are visiting. So look out, Tar Heels. Look out, Tar Heels. North Carolina will probably be about a 7, 8, 9 point favorite. We'll take them on. A lot of great questions, great comments. Dale Donut, San Diego State had a higher attendance average than UCLA. You know, it's difficult to analyze these G5 conference, you know, their attendance and the number of eyeballs they get. Because, you know, they don't get a lot of great exposure. San Diego State's exposure playing in the Pac-12 will be much greater than playing in the Mountain West Conference. You're going to have fan bases visiting San Diego State, helping to fill up that stadium. You're going to get more eyeballs, more sponsorship money. All that comes in with joining a Power 5 conference. The only real G5 conference, former G5 school out there that really had good fan intensity inside their market in the last decade was University of Central Florida in the city of Orlando. They really got good numbers out of there. That brand really grew in that huge market. But you know, Houston's the third or fourth ranked team out of what you would want to consider Southeast Texas. You know, Texas A&M owns the city of Houston. But now with Houston joining the Big 12, that's going to help the University of Houston marketing, branding, exposure in the huge, massive market of Houston. So that's going to help the Big 12. So it's hard to judge these G5 schools in terms of that. I know you kind of have to, because you have to look at some sort of data, right? But it's tough. It's tough. John Coy, nice to see you in the house. Would Arizona be better in the Big 12? Better in what? I think Arizona basketball would love it if you could separate the Big Ten coach, Arizona basketball coach, and say, hey, give him a little truth serum and say, what conference would you rather be in right now? He'd say the Big 12, especially when you're looking at the Big 12 media contract playing on Fox Sports. Arizona's football team has improved. Jed Fish, I've got them in my way too early predictions for 2023. I got them 8-9 along with Arizona State. But would they be better in the Big 12? The question is in terms of what? You know that the University of Arizona, the faculty, the leadership, they do want to stay as a Pac-12 university, though. That cannot be underestimated. That's what's holding the Pac-12 together right now. It's that brotherhood, sisterhood of those big-time academic and research universities. They want to stay together. Ryan Martin, another person who's bringing in the Monty Show information. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Ryan, you coming into the house. Monty Show is saying Pac-12 deal, 7 years, $25 million per school per year. In Oregon, Washington, and the Zonas won't ratify it. Wow. Wow. If that is true, if that information is accurate or even close to being accurate, then I completely understand the 33% number that John Wilner put on as Pac-12 extinction. And if the Zonas, Arizona and Arizona State won't ratify that number, $25 million per school per year, then that means, honestly, let's just say the story's true. Okay? I'm not saying it is. I don't know. I know who Monty Show is. You people have introduced that show to me. I have no idea. I'm not saying this. Let's just pretend, for the sake of speculation, that this information is true. What that would tell me is that Arizona and Arizona State has definitely, without question, has talked to Big 12 and Brett Yormark more than one time. Right? Do you all agree with me on that? If that information is true, that means Arizona and Arizona State have had a discussion with Mr. Brett Yormark. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. It's more real than you could ever know. Dale Donut says if it's $25 million per year per school, 33% is low. Dale Donuts think that 33% of Pac-12 extinction, that number should rise. Joe, would Big Ten consider Husky Stanford if they would accept a 50% pro rata, say $35 million for 2024, 2030? Joe, a couple months ago, I would have said yes. Before October 12th, I would have said yes. Now I don't think so. Not what we've been told. Now, John Wilner even says things are fluid, right? Realignment never sleeps, right? Who's the Big Ten new commissioner? Let's get to that point first. Remember, the Pac-12 media deal goes on, and the current deal goes on until July 1st, 2024. Their current grant of rights, the Pac-12 grant of rights, according to what I've read, goes to August 1st, 2024. So, there isn't time for Pac-12 to get a good deal. I mean, They got to get something done. But what I'm saying is if this thing implodes, there is time for schools to sit there and try to figure something else out, right? I mean, there's more time for the schools, for top brand schools, than there is time for the conference to remain as it is. So, could a Big Ten commissioner be named and they go back to Gene Smith? If Gene Smith is not the commissioner, or let's say Gene Smith is the commissioner, and schools are willing to come in at a huge discount, and Fox Sports finally says, okay, let's bring him in. Possibly, maybe, but right now the Big Ten expansion door is closed. And it has been since October 12th. And we've been saying it every day. Even though there's people out there who says, Greg Flugar says Big Ten expand, I don't know. Some people just want to say the opposite of what we're saying. Like they want to say that we're saying the opposite of what we're actually saying. Some people are like that. I don't know. It's strange. It's a little psychotic. A lot of great questions. Still going on here. Still going on. We've been live for 2 hours and 34 minutes, but we have a packed chat room. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going until the moderator, Medea Hernandez Garcia Flugar, who rules with an iron fist, comes in here and says no more. But we are live. We are live, and we're just going to keep going. Keep going. Opie says, I wish the Arizona schools would go to the SEC, as I need some cactus for the front yard. Sam J says, now the question is, how long do you wait until you start looking at other conferences? Well, according to John Wilner, alternatives will start popping up if the deal doesn't get done, if that new Pac-12 deal doesn't get done in the next 4 to 6 weeks, then alternatives start popping. Let's be honest here. These schools are looking at alternatives right now. There's no question about it. And they have been. Monovision. Come on, Greg. You know nobody signs any media deals before the NFL draft combine. Yes, I should know that. I should have known that, Monovision. Just like when Kliavkoff said, of course there's a delay in the deal getting done because Deion Sanders, waiting for the Deion Sanders to get his contract with Colorado. Of course the media deal didn't get done here in December because everybody knows that the media industry all takes December 15th to December 30th off. They're on vacation. Of course that's why. So now Monovision is saying sarcastically, come on, everybody knows that no media deal signs before the NFL combine in the spring. Lorenzo Hayes, Greg, you said what's going to happen a long time ago. Thank you so very much. Although, I got to tell you, we have always said at Peek Around the Corner that the heavy chalk was the Pac-12 was going to stay together, these 10 schools. Now, not so much. Now it's a slight favorite. Slight favorite. We've gone from minus 900 to minus 150 at the sportsbook board in Vegas to keeping this conference together as it is. Heavy chalk, now it's a slight favorite. That's where we've gone. That's where we've gone. And Mr. Pessimistic about the Pac-12, I was actually more optimistic than John Wilner in the last month. And it looks like I was wrong. Sam J, give us your prediction on where each Pac-12 school will end up. My prediction is slight favorite. I'd say all of them stay together in the Pac-12 and they add San Diego State and SMU. January 30th, even with this very uneasy information coming out of coming out of the West Coast in regards to the Pac-12, even though the future is on the knife's edge. That would still be my prediction. Now, if it implodes, if the whole thing implodes, where would everyone go? Arizona State to the Big 12. Oregon State, Washington State to the Mountain West. California, Stanford, Utah, Oregon, and Washington. They either go to the Big 12 or they bundle up their independent. They do some sort of crazy independence deal for a couple years. But again, that's a crazy guess if it implodes. But because I don't think the Big Ten is expanding. We were told this in October 12th. And this was after we were told the decision window was between August 15th and October 15th. For those who have been following since the start of this YouTube channel and before at Flag Empire, we talked about that decision window for further Big Ten expansion. Go or no go for launch. It was going to be made in that window, and it was made in that window. It was a no-go. Now there's no Big Ten commissioner. So no, I think the Big Ten expanding is still off the table. And maybe I'm the only one thinking that tonight on January 30th because of the crazy landscape that we seem to be approaching. If we get any different intel, we'll say it here at Peek Around the Corner. Oh boy, Greg is taking the pack together. RIP pack. John Corey says Washington and Oregon should talk to the Big 12. Maybe they have. I would have said no up until now, but maybe they have. If Monty Show is correct and they've been given $25 million for 7 years, and let's say there's no exit hatch in that grant of rights, yeah, they should give Big 12 a call. Wouldn't that be a story? Washington and Oregon to WWE confirmed. WWE is another example. We've talked about it here at Peek Around the Corner, Garrett. WWE they're going into the midst of a potential sale of the company. They're going into the midst of a potential new media deals. Their media deal with, I believe it's Fox and USA, is about to be ended, and it sounds like those media companies are starting to take a loss with the amount of money they distribute to WWE per their current contract. They're starting to take a loss because those ad buy rates are getting lower and lower. These media companies are making less and less revenue coming in from the ads. And now you have this economics, this economy. It might be contracting. You have the media markets definitely tightening. WWE, I know you didn't bring it up as this example, but they're an example of the headwinds that the Pac-12 is entering in these negotiations. Jeff Watson, Greg, is there any chance that Washington and Oregon go to the SEC or the ACC? Thanks for coming into the room, Jeff Watson. Appreciate the question. My answer to that question is either going to get many people upset or shock you or say that I'm crazy. One of those three. Okay, let me preface this by saying Washington and Oregon, the chances of them going to the SEC is probably 2%. But I think that's greater than them going to the ACC. I don't see the ACC having the ability to grab other schools right now. I don't see it. Let me say it to you this way, Jeff, Jeff, and everybody in the chat room. Why would University of Washington and Oregon join the ACC conference and have to be with the ACC, sign the grant of rights all the way until 2036? It makes no sense, because that's exactly what they have to do. It's in the ACC bylaws. I'm sorry I'm getting so technical, but that's what you have to do. Whoever enters into that conference, if anyone enters into the ACC, they have to sign the grant of rights, which gives up their independent media rights to the conference. Why would Oregon and Washington do that? I don't think ACC is in play. We have wild speculation. It has to be wild speculation, because these are uncharted waters. These are crazy times here for the Pac-12. I get it. But I think the one thing that definitely is not going to happen is Oregon and Washington to the ACC. The ACC cannot open up their current media contract with ESPN just because they add a school. Maybe they can do it if Notre Dame jumps in. Notre Dame's not jumping to the ACC in football. So Jim Phillips, his hands are tied. His hands are tied. Thanks for the question, Jeff. No. Kenneth, if they add schools, the GOR ends for the ACC, which will kill the ACC. The GOR does not end. The grant of rights does not end if the ACC adds schools. Think about it this way. If the ACC, if North Carolina could get ESPN to redo their contract, and all North Carolina has to do is get everybody together and say, let's add one school, let's add a West Virginia, whatever, they would have already have done that years ago. But they can't. That's not what the ACC bylaws say. There's a story brewing out there that we're going to talk about in the spring. But I will tell you this, the story does not involve ACC adding the school so they can break up the current grant of rights, because it's not reality. Take that however you want it. Ryan Martin, the Big 12 will release their full schedule tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Time. Holy smokes. Thank you, Ryan, for that information. If that's the case, we're going to be doing a live show tomorrow at 1 o'clock here at Peek Around the Corner. So come on in, come back for a Big 12 schedule release, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Fantastic. Thank you, Ryan, for that information. Wow. Thank you so very much. Garrett, best idea I've heard lately. Day-old donut Super Bowl ads for 2024 expected to be 21% less in value for next year if the economy continues to hurt. And that is what's happening. The advertisers are not putting the money in behind the ads. The media companies are making less money. Therefore, they're tightening their budgets. Therefore, layoffs. Therefore, these media packages, I'm not saying the sports bubble is going to pop, but it's not expanding. It's staying the same, or it's contracting a little bit. Okay. Well, I think that we're going to close it up. We've been on for 2 hours and 46 minutes. It sounds like potentially we're going to be going live tomorrow afternoon if the Big 12 releases their schedule. We talked a little bit about the ACC schedule today. We'll get more in it tomorrow, maybe tomorrow's episode. But thank you so much for joining us here at Peek Around the Corner. Big, massive, huge show. Great comments. Great phone calls. Remember to put that phone number into your phone. 763-260-1333. Before you leave the chat room, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. Smash that like button if you like our content. It helps with the algorithms here for the YouTube channel. And share the video with your family and friends. Come back, hang with us here at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to be following the Pac-12 story. the Big 12 schedule for tomorrow and everything else, because we cover everything in college football, because we love everything in college football. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Thank you for coming on in. Until next time, from everybody here at Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.